Fargo Fresh, we've got James Bergman, who is an intuitive songwriter. Hello, James.
Hey, hey.
We were just talking about how you are a Canadian Mennonite and you moved to Fargo and now you're singing songs for peace rallies and all those things. What's next for James? What do you got? What is in your future? What's your 5-year, 10-year? Where are you taking this thing? What are you doing with your life?
Oh, I love that. I think it's really tough to kind of have that kind of plan figured out exactly, but at the same time, it's nice to have a vision of where you're going. And I love seeing what opportunities just kind of come up. But I think in 5 years, I would love to be doing a lot more of this, a lot more songwriting for events. Also, I really love talking with people about like any number of topics. I feel like my life has given me a lot of experiences to draw from. And so I really enjoy being able to think about being, I don't like the word motivational speaker because it feels like, motivation is something that's external and speaking is something that, yeah, sure, we're all doing it. But instead of being a motivational speaker, I think I want to be an inspirational listener and, figure out, listen to what people are saying so that I can figure out what it is that they're trying to say and, help them kind of get there, not by themselves, but, with a little bit of help.
Well, I think you're in I think you're in luck because I've remarked this before, and I don't know, maybe you'll have an idea on it. With the advent of the changes of technology, there's less and less we have to do. And, so, some people are afraid of that. They go, oh, what are we going to do when there's no more jobs left? But I don't know so much about that. I feel like the point of work is to get rid of it. The reason it's work is because we wish it was already done, right?
Right.
And I don't know that everybody agrees with that. Like, there are people who are like, well, we need to make jobs and da-da-da-da-da. But I think if you were to go back 300 years and explain to somebody what a podcaster is or an influencer, I think they'd be like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, they have no concept of mass communication or any kinds of things. I strongly suspect that the future, and this is just kind of my take, the future is going to be, because the robots, they can do a lot for us, but they can't make our decisions. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be two jobs, people who make decisions and people who teach people how to make decisions, right? And so the workers will be the decision makers, and everybody. Then there will be the consultant class. I see that trend. So I see a lot of jobs that used to involve, and you see this already happening. There's a lot of jobs that used to involve a lot of paperwork, a lot of by hand moving things from one place to another. Real estate, and I'm a realtor at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Premier Properties. Real estate is a great example of this. Is if you look back at the industry back in the 80s, there was a lot of work that realtors did that was literally the Xeroxing and carrying of documents and getting the wet ink signature and then moving and having these meetings. Now all these things are done, boom, via email. That doesn't mean we're not working, but now our job has changed and moved in a way where what it is that brings value is the consulting.
Right.
We give people an idea of how they can value. A very good realtor, I feel, is somebody who tells you, how to apply your values in to a real estate transaction, and it's really just a consulting role. But I feel like everybody is moving into consulting. That's just the future of work. What do you think of that?
Yeah, and I think everybody has a unique perspective and unique expertise to offer a viewpoint that you're not going to get anywhere else. I think so often a lot of the education we've received is, it's all this, okay, this is what historically. This is what you need to know in order to help someone make that decision. Everybody's learning all that same stuff, but then the experiences that they have in between learning that and consulting with somebody else kind of shape what they've seen. And so it feels like there is, it's like this idea of niching down. I think, sometimes we learn, oh no, you got to figure out what's your one thing that you do, and really do that. I think about that on YouTube videos or, any number of social media streams, but it feels like instead of focusing on just the one thing, like, how do all these other things contribute to make you who you are? And I think we're starting to realize who we are as individuals is shaped by a lot of factors. It's not just one thing. Like, yeah, I'm an intuitive songwriter. I'm also a parent. I'm also a speech therapist. All those things really have impacted me as a musician and as an individual, but they give me a unique perspective as someone who can, can listen to people, who can be a consultant, who can provide insights based on, my own experiences, just like everybody else.
I found that a lot of things comes down to values.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think people don't realize that it's the difference. And so as somebody who came from Canada, Mennonites, and then moved to America, non-Mennonites, and has kind of been around, you probably see a lot of different people with a lot of different values. And I think almost the process of discovering and then applying your values is something that a consultant helps you to do, and just kind of finding those values. What do you think of that?
Oh, I love that. I remember, I think on a few occasions I've done these, sort of like a workshop where somebody takes a look and you've got a big sheet that has a whole list of different values. It's like, okay, pick 10, take a look at all of them, pick 10. And it's like, okay, now make it down to 7. Make it down to 5, make it down to 3. What's your one value?
Sure.
And it's really interesting because I think even though we are all participating in society in the same, this same big thing, all of our experiences have shaped us to really value certain things, maybe because that's, our heritage, or maybe certain experiences made us realize it's like, oh, I don't want to go through that again. So I'm really going to lean into this. This is my value. And I think it is one of those things that when we start to understand it and realize that should be one of the things that helps us make those decisions. That's that kind of touch point. That's like, well, does this really align with my values? When you've got it spelled out, it's a lot easier to answer that question.
Are values something that you decide or something that you discover?
Ooh, I really like that question. I think it's a little bit of both. I think it takes a lot of conscious thought to decide that you're going to try to discover them. And so I think it's a little bit of both. Again, it's like that idea of words, what do they mean? But honestly, it feels like if you take a look at your values and you realize, take a look at your values and then take a look at your behaviors, and you realize your behaviors are not aligned with your values, all of a sudden you've got to decide, am I going to change my values or am I going to change my behaviors? How do I make these two things align?
So I would tend to believe that I think the term is revealed preferences, right? So if you continue to act in a certain way, then that clearly must be what you truly value or believe in, right? So like if you say to yourself, I want to get sober, but you just keep grabbing for the bottle, turns out that you don't want to get sober. Like your true value is just feeling good, right? And if you keep running away from that value, and I feel, in dealing with like addiction, I think that's something where a lot of people, they say, well, I don't want to feel good. I want to have all these other things. They imagine these higher values that they wish they had, but they don't really have them. Whereas if they were to replace it and say, okay, what I really value is just feeling good. Is there a more productive way that I can feel good than drinking, right? So you could take, because I don't know. Do you think you can change your values? I would tend to say you can't change your values. And so if something you value is like just straight hedonism or bliss or what, you know what I mean? Like I value feeling good.
Yeah.
If that's just like hard coded into you and you're not going to change that, you can at least find more productive ways to feel good. You can replace your alcoholism with workaholism, right? You could build something rather than destroying yourself, right? But what do you think of that? Do you think somebody can change their values?
I think so. I think it takes awareness though. Like over the last couple years, I've been kind of through my own, like, I want to call it like a healing journey or like personal discovery journey. And it feels like part of that is realizing like the subconscious programming that's always running, and figuring out the things that we're doing because it is just a habit versus something that we're intentionally choosing. And I think when we actually really examine what is behind those those habits, we have the opportunity to engage with our values in a lot more like productive, but also intentional way. And so I think that's the idea of feeling good. Sometimes feeling good is just, it's not about feeling good. It's about not feeling bad. And it's like realizing, okay, what's the thing that feels bad? Why does that feel bad? Like, what is this an echo of? Like, kind of like realizing, because I think, nobody gets through life without trauma of some sort. And just kind of what that looks like and how it articulates it, it depends on the context in which we grow up. And once we kind of are able to take a look at that, become a little bit more aware of it, we can realize that those things that we're doing have to do with values that no longer align with us, and choose something different.
Well, that, I think, is all the time we have for Echoes. We are going to take a break. When we come back, we'll have frequently asked questions, so don't go nowhere.